everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of the Big Biz Theory Podcast. Since this is my debut, I thought I'd start by introducing myself. I'm Lizzie, and I'll be your host as we dive into the representation of neurodivergence in media. For the very first episode, I'll be focusing on autism, which is the neurodivergence I'm most familiar with, because I'm autistic myself. Now, before we get into the main topic, let me quickly run through my own diagnosis journey. My parents first noticed something was different about my behaviour when I was in primary 6, so around the age of 11. They brought it up with my school, but the school didn't see any issues. Of course, they weren't seeing what was happening at home. So my parents decided to film my behaviour at home and show the school. That was when I was referred to CAMS, which stands for Child and Adolescent Mental Health Services, by my GP. It wasn't a short process though. I had an appointment every 2 to 3 weeks with CAMS, and it took 3 years before I finally got diagnosed with autism. Honestly, it was such a relief for both me and my family to have that clarity. But this episode isn't about me and my autism journey, it's about how autism is represented in the media. So, let's get into it. If I asked you to name an autistic character in fiction, I'm betting your mind went straight to Sheldon Cooper from the Big Bang Theory. But here's the thing, Sheldon has never been confirmed to have autism by the show's creators. This makes him what we call a non-canon autistic character, and don't worry, I'll break down what that means later on. For now, I'll mostly be talking about canon autistic characters, those who have been officially confirmed as autistic. There's been a rise in autism representation on screen recently, which is great because it helps bring awareness, but here's the catch. A lot of it is stereotypical. I first realised this when I was diagnosed and my mum suggested we watch Rain Man. If you haven't seen it, Dustin Hoffman plays an autistic man named Raymond Babbitt. Watching him uncontrollably stim and experience meltdowns made me worry about what my adulthood might look like. Some scenes made me really uncomfortable and even reflect on my own behaviour. Now, Dustin Hoffman's performance won him an Oscar, and his dedication to the role was undeniable. He spent a full year researching autism, observing and talking to people on the spectrum, and preparing for the role. But the issue is, Raymond wasn't played by someone with autism. That's where authenticity gets lost. If the role had gone to an autistic actor, the film might not feel as cliched today. Since Rain Man, we've seen a stampede of autistic characters in shows and films, but here's the problem. They almost always follow the same formula. Most of these characters are white, male, socially awkward, obsessed with specific topics, and stuck in rigid routines. As an autistic woman, I often feel like we're left out of the conversation entirely. Fun fact, the very first depiction of an autistic character on screen was actually a woman. In the 1969 film Change of Habit, Amanda, the autistic character, was portrayed by Mary Tyler Moore. That's pretty groundbreaking when you think about it. But fast forward 50 years, and where are all the autistic women on screen? I can name just two. Quinny from Netflix's Heartbreak High, played by Chloe Hayden, and Matilda from Everything's Gonna Be Okay, played by Kayla Cromer. And what makes these portrayals even more exciting is that both Chloe and Kayla are autistic in real life. When Chloe walked the red carpet for Heartbreak High wearing colour-coordinated ear defenders, I wanted to cheer. She refused to mask her autism, and it was such a powerful moment. Unfortunately, Hollywood hasn't always gotten it right. Let's talk about the film Music by singer Sia. Initially, Sia cast a non-verbal autistic actress for the lead role, but she was replaced by Maddie Ziegler, a non-autistic actress. Sia claimed that the original actress found the process too stressful, but the backlash was intense. Critics described Maddie's performance as cartoonish, with exaggerated expressions and mannerisms. This was a huge missed opportunity to have an authentic portrayal of autism. The film also relied heavily on stereotypes, which is why there's a growing push for neurodivergent actors to play these roles. After all, who better to represent autism than someone who's actually autistic? Now, let's circle back to Sheldon Cooper. As I mentioned earlier, he's a non-canon autistic character, meaning the creators haven't confirmed his autism. It's hard to ignore how much he fits the stereotypes. He struggles with social cues, has rigid routines, and obsesses over specific interests. What's interesting though, is the difference in how Sheldon is portrayed in the Big Bang Theory versus young Sheldon. Ian Armitage, who plays the younger version of Sheldon, delivers a much more subtle and grounded performance. Even though to my knowledge Ian isn't autistic, His portrayal avoids the over-the-top quirks we often see in adult Sheldon in The Big Bang Theory. In many ways, young Sheldon feels like a more realistic depiction of an autistic person than his grown-up counterpart. Sheldon isn't alone in this category of characters. Let's take a moment to shout out other non-canon autistic characters who fans strongly believe are on the spectrum. Newt Scamander from the Fantastic Beasts film series. Personally, I definitely see why people think he's autistic, because he's got an obsession with magical creatures, which is obviously his autistic interest. Spencer Reid from the popular crime show Criminal Minds. Now, I've never seen Criminal Minds, and that's something that I'm definitely going to watch in the future if people think that one of the main characters is non-canon autistic. Drax from the Guardians of the Galaxy film series. Now, I haven't watched those films in a while. I mean, I was recently in Florida and went on the Guardians of the Galaxy ride, and that was one of the best rides in my opinion. Oh, there we go. I'm going off on a tangent. Wednesday Addams from the Netflix show Wednesday, and possibly from the Addams Family film series. I don't know whether people see Wednesday from the TV show as more autistic than the Addams Family depiction, but I have seen that TV show, and I'm looking forward to season 2, which is coming out soon. Whether or not she's autistic, I don't know if she's just more weird and different, which is probably why people think she is on the spectrum. Matilda from the Roald Dahl book of the same name, and the film based on the book, and there's also a musical. Now, I do see why people think she is, but it's because she's naturally clever from a young age, and I mean, I don't know whether or not that's another stereotype of autistic people, but her autistic obsession would definitely just be reading, and I mean, she doesn't stop doing that, so I don't really know. Phoebe from Friends. Now, Friends is one of my favourite TV shows of all time. I have to say R.I.P. Matthew Perry. So whether or not Phoebe's autistic, I don't personally think she is. I think she's just more, quirky and the different one of the group, which once again I can see why people think she is on the spectrum, because she is the most different one of the group. But I think she's just more unique in a sense of her personality. Hermione Granger. Personally, I don't think I agree with that one. I have to say, I am a Harry Potter fan, but I haven't read the books, so whether or not book Hermione is autistic coded, I don't really know. I mean, film Hermione to me doesn't really seem autistic. Amelie from the film Amelie. Now, this is a film I haven't seen either, so I can't really comment on this. Amy and Rosa and Raymond Holt in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Now, I am ashamed to say I haven't seen this TV show. It's definitely been recommended to me a lot. The rest of my family have seen it, but I mean, that's the reason that my brother doesn't want me to watch it, so that's the reason I haven't seen it. Tyler in 13 Reasons Why. Once again, haven't seen that TV show. I know it's also a book, but haven't seen it or read it. Robin in Stranger Things. Am I ashamed to say I haven't seen Stranger Things? Yes. I mean, I watched season 1. I haven't got around to watching the rest of the seasons, but personally I just really don't like gore, so that's why I haven't seen Stranger Things, because I know it's going to get worse. Chidi in The Good Place. Haven't seen it. Peter Parker. Now, Peter Parker I'd say is pretty autistic coded. I mean, I think just some of his mannerisms, I see why people think he is on the spectrum, because just the way he talks sometimes, and he's just pretty random. And this is all from what I remember. I went to the cinema to watch No Way Home by myself, and obviously I was just sitting there crying. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen the film. But yeah, I'd say in terms of his mannerisms, I can see why people think he is autistic. Forrest Gump. I haven't seen the film. I'm sorry, I haven't seen the film. Beth Harmon in The Queen's Gambit. Oh, don't get me started on The Queen's Gambit. One of my favourite TV shows I've ever seen, actually, and it was pretty short, but I literally bought a chess set after watching that TV show. That's how obsessed with it I was. I wanted to be the next Beth Harmon. I mean, I can see why people think she's on the spectrum pretty much. I mean, she dedicates her whole life to chess and just being the best at chess, so definitely agree with that one, that she is on the spectrum. Ariel in The Little Mermaid. Now, personally, I don't agree with this one. I think she's just by herself most of the time, so she has to entertain herself some way in. And actually, I see why people probably think this, because she collects things and she has a collection of a lot of things, but maybe that's just how she entertains herself, because she's by herself under the water. Pip in A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I actually agree with this one. I've read both the first 2 books. I haven't gotten to the last one yet. Yeah, I agree with this one. She puts herself in danger, like she knows she's doing something dangerous, but she doesn't stop until she's actually finally solved the crime case. Luna Lovegood. I don't agree with this one. I think Luna's like Phoebe in the way that she's just unique, and her personality, she's just a bit different. I mean, her nickname is literally Looney Lovegood. Here's the issue with these characters. While they spark conversation about autism, they're often designed with quirks that highlight the negative traits of autism. What frustrates me the most is that despite how much progress we've made in understanding autism, these roles rarely go to autistic actors. Once again, it feels like Hollywood is saying we're not suitable or capable of playing ourselves. It's time for the Divergent Drop, where I'll name drop some amazing celebrities and influencers who are diagnosed with the neurodivergence talked about in this episode, autism. You might be surprised about who's on the list. First, we've got award-winning actor Sir Anthony Hopkins, known for the Silence of the Lambs film, and was diagnosed later in life. Actor and comedian Dan Aykroyd, one of the original Ghostbusters. Actress Daryl Hannah, known for Kill Bill and Splash, and was diagnosed as a child but kept it private for years. Comedian Hannah Gadsby, I think I'm pronouncing that right, who openly discusses her autism in her comedy. Wildlife TV presenter and conservationist Chris Packham. Climate activist Greta Thunberg, I think I'm pronouncing that right again, who proudly identifies as autistic. Scottish singer and former Britain's Got Talent contestant Susan Boyle. Paige Lale, TikTok creator known for her content on autism education and advocacy. Connor Ward, YouTuber and autism advocate. And finally, Flynn Castles, TikTok creator whose relatable and humorous content spreads autism awareness. Yeah, I really like his videos. Their openness and advocacy has done so much for the autistic community, and they deserve all the recognition for helping breaking down stigma. So, what's the solution? For starters, we need more authentic representation. That means casting autistic actors, writing complex autistic characters, and showing the positive traits of autism, not just the challenges. It's time for Hollywood to step up and include more diversity, not just in terms of race or gender, but in how they portray disabilities and neurodivergence. We need more Chloe Haydens and Kayla Cromers, actors who can bring genuine authenticity to the screen. Now that's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed the deep dive into autism in the media. If you have any thoughts or suggestions for future episodes, feel free to reach out. For updates, follow the podcast on Instagram at the Big Biz Theory Pod. Next time, we'll explore another neurodivergence, so stay tuned. Thanks for listening to the Big Biz Theory Podcast. See you next time.